In this video, I'm going to take you through my full tutor analysis, part 4, for the ACCA SBL examination for the March 2026 sitting. That's for the company Merceh Co. My name is James, and if you'd like access to my exclusive SBL notes that have helped students around the world to pass their examination, just click the link in the description of this video or in my bio and you can download a copy yourself. I'm also delighted to say I'm affiliated and associated with Astranti. They offer pre-scene analysis packs and mock examinations based specifically on the March 2026 Merceh Co pre-scene materials. And if you'd like to check those out, just click the link in the description. And for pure transparency, as always, if you were to purchase anything, I'd be entitled to a small percentage which goes to supporting the channel. And as always, a massive, huge thank you for all your support. If you have any questions on the pre-scene materials or on the notes, just leave me a comment. I will get back to you on there, as I know it could be the difference in getting you the 50 plus. But hopefully this is not looking too dissimilar for you and you're thinking to yourself, I feel like I'm making progress and I'm getting well on top of the pre-scene notes. Well, now let's have a look at the part 3 of the pre-scene notes, which is the company overview on the left-hand side. And what we have here in terms of the background, we're told more information on Merceh Co, or Merceh. And as we've seen before, it's one of the 5 biggest publishing magazines in Darland. It was established around 60 years ago with its first magazines covering, and this is key for you to get down about those areas or subjects of home and lifestyle. It's expanded over the years on there due to a combination of publishing popular magazines and taking over publishers like we've seen before, so acquisitions, who produce magazines in other subjects, e.g. sports. So this is where, in terms of what we're told for the background information, they've got good longevity, that acquisition strategy, but on page 5 we're not told this happens very regularly in terms of the acquisitions on there. So Merceh publishes over 300 different magazines, a wide range of leisure subjects. Most of its magazines are published in monthly editions, few being published weekly or quarterly. All magazines are published in both printed and digital formats. And you kind of think to yourself, that's a large portfolio of subjects to manage, lots of admin time, costs associated with it, logistics, what if a deadline was missed, all potential scenarios that could come up on your exam. All of its offices and retailers which it sells its magazines are based in Darland, and Merceh has been listed on the Darland Stock Exchange for the last 8 years, so well established to consider the size, compliance of being a publicly listed company. And last thing to note on here, we're told that the head office is in the north of the country, in the capital city, and the distribution hub is in the centre. Both on page 8 we will be coming to, but definitely something you should get down in your notes on there. Now we're going to move on to the mission and values, key areas, which you can see from my highlighting in pink and blue. Make sure you don't get them mixed up, especially if you're being specific in the exam about the mission or the values. So this is where, how does Merceh actually define enhance on there and a community of what? That when you go through it, it's all about enhancing the readers, expert provision of information, engaging and entertaining them as well. So we're not told in the pre-scene materials how Merceh collects any feedback from the readers on there, but the key word to get down is enhance. So if you see something in the pre-scene on the exam day and it's not enhancing the readers, refer back to that mission statement. Next we have communication with readers, often stressing about the authors and readers are part of one large community on that. But if you have a look on page 8, which we'll be coming on to, the authors and the staff don't actually work together much face to face. They're not in the office all the time, and you kind of go, what kind of community is that? So anything involving a social point or the staff, refer back to that mission statement. Our values, as you can see for Merceh, emphasises on there about its commitments to sustainability, developing the employees on there. So I was thinking, why is this not a KBI then? And also linking it into when we're talking about, are they committed on there to it? So really question what they're actually saying in terms of the actual values, because we're told that Merceh Co has an ethical code which mainly contains broad principles. Doesn't sound very robust, you can see from my notes, but one of them is integrity and honest content creation, so one of the ACCA codes of ethics. They actually have some specific provisions on there, compliance with regulations, and then that is the regulator linking it back to, so could potentially lead to fines or legal issues if broken from a pest or legal point of view. So making bad content would go against their values if that was to happen on the exam day. We're next told about the ownership split in terms of institutional shareholders have 60%, the directors have 30%, and other shareholders have a 10% holding. This is where the directors have what is known as significant influence on there, and you could link it back to agency theory, definitely. So make sure you get that down in terms of how much influence the directors are having on the direction of the organisation. For the governance areas, really interesting again that we're told we have 12 directors, 6 executive directors, 6 non-executive directors, the perfect 50-50 split that is required from Darland's Corporate Governance Code, so all done there. All of the NEDs also fulfil the definition of independence given in the code. So we're not told if any of the non-executive directors have any managing experience of the magazine industry specific, but then it looks good in terms of ethics and governance point there for you to refer back to. And when we come actually on to the final point just before the board structure, up at the top now, Merceh has nomination, audit and remuneration committees, all in line with that corporate governance code, and it also has a risk committee which is not required, so going above and beyond, but the alarm bell should be ringing. It sounds just too good to be true if you ask me. Looking at the board structure, we're not told any responsibilities for each of the board members, and that links to the KPIs on page 6, because who is accountable for these? Who's in charge of sustainability? And we're not also told a single name in the pre-C materials. I think that could also come up as a requirement on the exam day in a scenario that you may be given the name of one of these individuals, and make sure you apply it to where their role is. We're now coming on to the products now, and we're talking about Merceh's print-based magazines can be subscribed to directly or purchased at retailers, so a bit of repeated points there. But the digital subscriptions allow online access to all materials published in the past and present editions of the magazine. Merceh does not offer digital versions of its magazines distributed by email. And you kind of go to yourself, why don't they? Do their competitors do that? Where can we actually add benefit here to our customers? Next, we have the organisation, coming on to some more key points now. So Merceh is organised into 8 divisions for reflecting the content of the magazines. This includes sport, lifestyle and computers. Note those key areas down for where they produce the magazines about. And each division has one main office and some smaller actual offices as well. So I'm kind of thinking to yourself, well, there are huge costs associated with that. And what we're saying there is key points about how they're structured. Are these legacy costs that they've just been building them over the years and they're really finding it hard to let go? Merceh has a head office located in Darland's capital city in the north, which we've touched on before, where its senior management team, procurement, marketing and admin teams are based. But then I'm thinking to myself, well, where are the finance teams? Where are the IT teams? Something definitely you could refer to in your analysis for the people and the employees. Most authors work in their office 2 days a week and from home the rest of the time. Some authors will spend time out of the office gathering material on there. For example, sports magazines going to fixtures, but the other staff are required to be in the office on varying numbers of days depending on their roles and can work from home the rest of time. So first of all, is that fair? Is it needed for the role that we've got all of these massive offices when people aren't actually in? So definitely a pestle social point here, and linking back to especially that mission where they talk about one large community of the authors and the readers and the employees on there. Doesn't quite sound like it according to that. Next, we're looking at the content production on there. So careful reading here with the points of all versus most. So let me take you through it, that we have more demand means more staff that are needed. So staffing of magazines depends varying on factors such as the subject matter and the frequency of publication. All magazines employ one or more in-house authors to actually write some of the content. They can also use freelance authors, and that is where we get the expert content. Where Merceh is lacking in-house expertise, they are paid at high rates to cover if an employee author is not available to work. So that's where you've just got to be careful, where an employee author is paid on the payroll, whereas a freelancer is paid per edition that they contribute to. Now, some really key points now on page 8 you'll have seen in the notes earlier on, that the paper and printing, what we have here, Merceh sources its paper from several suppliers and states publicly that its paper suppliers obtain their raw material supplies from sustainable sources. So again, what we're saying to the public versus what is happening. Why are we also just using not just one supplier, maybe to benefit from some economies of scale? Is this actually happening, that the supplies are sustainable? So again, a potential SWOT analysis, weakness or opportunity here, because Merceh does its printing in-house, unlike most publishers in Ireland, which outsource their printing. In other words, higher fixed costs to actually cover. And it's the same with distribution. Merceh transports its own magazines and its printing to its location from its distribution hub located in the centre of Darland. Remember, the head office is based in the north. The hub sends magazines to individual subscribers through the postal service and delivers magazines directly to retailers. So again, more costs incurred, more logistics and potential areas to go wrong, especially with an outdated computer system. Speaking of which, we have the IT systems on the left-hand side now, where they've used the same digital publishing platform for a number of years. Could be more advanced on there, doesn't sound like the most up-to-date system. But this is where it offers some customization of the print-based magazines, and then in terms of publication of the website, incorporates images and some data analytics. But why only some? We're in an AI age now where you could definitely refer to that. But then the caveat is, remember on page 6 on the risk register, those cybersecurity risks. Merceh's subscriber database is operated in line with the data protection regulators. So that's good, like we looked on page 5. For each subscriber, it records their contact details, which they subscribe to, payment information, so lots of technology points here, but risks of a data breach. And the board must consider the admin and accounting systems to be sufficient for those purposes. But again, when you see the word sufficient, it doesn't sound very reassuring about the admin and accounting systems that you could refer back to. Stakeholders and risks, again, we're just given a nice sentence about the significant stakeholders are the same as above on page 5, and the risks are the same above as the major risk identified on page 6. More interestingly, going down to the website extract on the left, make sure you've got down in your notes about how they word it to say we aim, we want, and we strive, because they all sort of give you different levels of how much they are willing to go for the point. So in terms of content, we strive to produce trustworthy original content, engaging, enabling and entertaining readers, committed on there to countering the threats of misinformation and fake news, embedding the core values, including sustainability in the content we produce. So again, some more pestle environmental points now, but what if content is published is actually bad as well? This is where we've got brand reputation risk and controls, internal controls must be in place and could be referred to. The working environment on there, how do you define top quality content? Again, we are told they strive to produce a supportive environment to employees and opportunities to produce top quality content, reward strong performance, any member of staff committed to diversity, fostering that community culture as we've seen in the values, and development of employees not just acquiring knowledge in their roles, but professional and personal development as well. Our managers are ready to listen to employee concerns. So again, some social points there from a pestle analysis point of view. Lots of possible risks here linked to people and the employees and losing those top quality personnel we've seen in the risk register. Stakeholder engagement, link these back to those stakeholders on page 5, both internal and external. But what are the actions to show for what they're being told in this CSR statement? So we are aware of the impact on stakeholders, committed to respectful and regular dialogue. All stakeholders for our activities significantly affect. We want our stakeholders to think of us, learn what is important. We aim to create dialogue and take actions to address stakeholder concerns and enhance our relations. It's telling us all the good stuff, but it's not really saying what actions they actually take in that place. And lastly, social and environmental commitment. We've got some pestle points there from the environment, cost benefit analysis, and a couple of other social points in terms of the impacts on the actual community. But be careful when it says encourages, that is not meaning that it's compulsory. So we want to build a sustainable future. Business has positive social impacts. constantly looking at ways of avoiding the use of irreplaceable resources, aiming to reduce continuously our direct emissions and impacts, encouraging our suppliers to follow objectives socially and environmentally on there. Encouraging does not mean it's definitely going on, and committed to developing transparency reporting and impacts on the community and environment. So if anywhere on your exam day that you have a requirement that goes against the community, the environment on there, emissions, sustainability for it, refer back to that fourth CSR responsibility statement to say it is being broken. The last points you can see on the right hand side are all to do with the financial and non-financial information. The revenue is flatlining, as you can see from the top left diagram. The revenue from publications has slightly dipped. Still, it's pretty reasonably high. The revenue from advertising has been growing year on year. Very important to get that noted down. Operating profit has dipped down to 27%, but still 27% isn't too bad on there. Energy consumed has been dropping year on year, which again, more efficient in the way they're actually producing the magazines. That is linked to some of the KPIs, but the main one being that the printed based editions for the sales volume have been dropping year on year. But don't forget, on page 2 it says that the sales are diminishing, although it is likely to remain significant for some time to come. So do not make the mistake of getting that mixed up. Remember, for context, they've still printed 3.2 million paper magazines. They just need to get more efficient in how they do it. The last thing to note involves the actual 27% now and the operating profit margin, because this is where we can actually make a draft market share calculation. So what I've done here is said that, well, if the operating profit is 175 million, if I divide that by 0.27 for the percentage, that gives me a revenue for 2005 of 648 million, which you can see on the graph looks about right. On page 2, we're told that the total market share in terms of revenue is $8,000 million. So all I've done there is take 648 divided by 8,000. That gives me a market share linking back to page 2 for Merceh Co at 8.1% on there. Which, when we're told Merceh Co is one of the big 5 where they own 50% of the market share, I think that is not a bad shout, and that is definitely a key point for you to show your calculations on the exam day if you want to refer to it in a question. And breathe. My last point on there is best of luck with your upcoming exam. And if you would like a copy of my exclusive SBL notes, you can see as I've gone through from top to bottom, make sure you click the link in the description or in my bio. You can take a copy of those yourself and use them in your revision, along with those Astranti mock papers and preceding analysis packs. As I'm sure you can be aware, it takes a lot of time to do these notes, so if you subscribe, like, share the video, I really appreciate it, and I hope it makes a difference in getting you a pass for your SBL exam. So thank you very much, and good luck.